Welcome to another take of Millennial Motive. I'm one of the co-hosts, Kyle Jones. To my right, we got Orlando Benn.
What's up, what's up?
Got George Elias here, the tech genius.
Hello, hello.
And then our special guest, Dan. I never got your last name, Dan. What's your last name?
It's Guy. Dan Guy.
Dan Guy, easy enough.
All these years and
Thanks,
we didn't
guys.
know that.
Oh, my, yeah.
The fastest Scantron filling out in all of grade school.
Dan Guy.
6 letters.
Easiest roll call ever. Dan Guy? Okay. Now, special podcast here because we're in the brewery itself. If you want to check it out, go to our YouTube channel. It is beautiful in here. And this is the man that got me into IPAs. I appreciate you. My liver appreciates you. And
You
we're going to
gotta
have a
keep
good
it
time.
exercise.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. That's the
Show
whole
it who's
thing.
boss.
We're going to have a good time. We have beer in front of us. George, this is the first time having IPAs. He wasn't a fan. We're going to make him a fan today.
Yeah, that's what we're going to do today. We're going to have George try a few IPAs today, and hopefully he
Beautiful.
becomes a fan. I know that with Arcana, it got me into him, so hey.
And we're going to get the story of how this all started. What got you into beer? Were you brewing in your garage like what I tried to do and failed horribly at? Or like
It just takes practice.
Yeah, no, what made you get into this field, Dan, of bringing people happiness? We'll say that.
I like that.
Yeah.
I'm going to use that later.
Okay.
Back probably like eight and a half, maybe 9 years ago, it was to the point where I was brewing at the house every weekend. And if I wasn't brewing, I was cleaning and getting ready to brew the next weekend. I was off working at a beer festival, or I was off drinking at a beer festival. I would bring beer to people's house parties, birthday parties, all different sort of things. And I started to try all the craft beer places that were popping up back then.
Okay.
And figured, you know what, my beer is at least as good as these places. And I don't necessarily love the day job I was doing at the time. And so
That's a good motivator, for sure.
Went to business school, trying to decide whether I wanted to do my own thing or whether I wanted to grow in the company I was with or switch to full corporate. And I decided that beer, while a lot more work than the day job, was a lot more rewarding. Crazy hours, but the job satisfaction is awesome. And I wouldn't do it if I didn't like chatting with people over the bar. I could just push buttons at a mega brewery, or I could work accounting and process paperwork all day.
Sit in the cubicle.
This is way more fun. Yes, I have to do paperwork. I have to do government filings for taxes and production rolls and all that good stuff.
And then even
but
just
at
getting
least
the
5 out of 6
licenses.
days.
Yeah.
Oof, yeah. So
pain.
much paperwork. So much paperwork. I'm great at paperwork now.
Hey, that's good.
I don't ever want to do anymore, but I'm really good at it.
Well, if you ever have to go back to accounting, hopefully that will never
Yes.
happen. You're good to go.
Knock on wood.
Well, I bet you were a fan favorite at the house parties. I would have loved to invite you to mine
it was-
with the craft beer, just home brewed.
It got to the point where people would pitch recipes. Like, yeah, we want a Hefeweizen, but we want it to have bananas and apricots.
Wow.
And I was like, all right, this is what I need. They'd give me a little pile of cash for birthday beer, get it brewed up, roll out with a keg and a CO2 tank, get a little mini jockey box set up. So that actually helped when we did our first events because we'd already done it a whole bunch of times for
I mean, were
buddies.
you always good?
Oh, no, it has gotten a lot better. Yeah.
Tell us about like the first time you brewed your first beer.
All right. Well, a little bit of backstory. When I was still in junior high and high school, my dad dabbled in homebrewing a little bit. He did, I think, 3 batches. He didn't really get the bug. And so when I went to college, I think it would have been junior year. I was in biology class with my roommates and 297 other people in this massive auditorium at UC Riverside. And the guy that was, so it was me, my roommate Josh, my roommate Steve, and this guy named Rob. And we were talking about who we knew that might be willing to pick up beer for people who may have been of questionable ages at the time. And we're all in a biology class, we're all super nerdy with our glasses, taking detailed notes. And Rob hears us talking, he's like, hey, I just got a job at the homebrew shop down the street. You guys should come talk to me. You can brew your own in your apartment. You can make whatever you want. There's no issue with anything like that, at least at the time.
Sounded a little bit different.
It's, everything changes.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we started talking, my roommates and I. We gathered together all the gear that we had who had the biggest stock pot at the house, who had a big spoon. If anybody had any Sparkletts water bottles, I got the leftover stuff that my dad had saved. And then we hit up Rob at the homebrew shop. And he hooked us up with I think it was an Irish Red recipe. And we brewed it, and it turned out pretty good. A little boozier, a little cidery than we were necessarily expecting. But we got hooked, and we started brewing in the apartment.
Wow.
But being in Riverside in the summer, the best you could do was keep in your apartment at around 80, 82 degrees. Yeah. So the first batch turned out pretty good, and then spring, summer started to creep in, and we tried to do a couple other things that reinforced how important process controls are. Refrigeration being a big one. Sanitation being another really big one. And so we...
and being college kids in your apartment.
You're willing to settle for a lot in college, but being that we were all pretty detail-oriented, we did keep good notes, and we learned from every batch that we honked up. And I think we only messed up one unsalvageable batch.
Wow,
in college. It wasn't world-class beer by any means, but it did the job. Yes. We only had to pour one down the drain while our neighbors asked us what that horrible, horrible smell was.
I got a question for you. So obviously being in college, right, and brewing your own beer and everything like that, did you guys have other people in college like saying, "Hey, dude, make some beer for the party," or whatever?
No, that would be completely unethical. Furnishing.
I mean, I'm just thinking, you're in
there's
college.
There's a lot of winks. There's a lot of air quotes right now.
I have a very specific question. When you were taking biology, was it Spieth 1500 or MSE 114?
I don't think it was either one of those. I think it was Bio 101.
No, I mean the classroom, the actual class location.
Gosh, which hall were we in? We weren't in the theaters. We were on the main campus.
Okay.
Oh, God.
Obviously,
I can't remember which one.
I'm asking because I go to UCR.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Awesome.
My brother graduated from there, too.
Very cool.
Yeah.
It's a great school. Good science program, great journalism program.
I asked because I know several people who are into that kind of stuff and who are into... have a little bit extra fun on the weekend, so I'm just like, I wonder if like the room or like the ambiance is like, you know what, I'm gonna get into making booze.
I remember it was in one of the presentation halls that's in the center of campus, and you walk in on the top level and you walk down big flights of stairs
Spieth
to fill in.
Spieth 1500, and that's exactly where you had your classes in.
Yep.
That's a pretty small world, right?
Yeah.
I mean, did you join a fraternity? Or did you like?
I did not. Thought about it. Checked out a couple of them, decided that I had too much homework already, and that adding the additional fraternity homework would probably push it over to where I wouldn't graduate on time.
You could probably skip the hazing process, though. Like, hey, I
have beer.
Right.
Come on, guys.
All right, so let's skip ahead here. So, like, tell us more about like how you came about getting this beautiful brewery that you have now here in Carlsbad.
It has come a long way. So October 2019 is going to mark 7 years for Arcana in this space.
Nice.
This wasn't actually our initial targeted space. The first spot fell through on signing day, and so we were kind of in a scramble. I say we because it was originally going to be me and a couple other people, and they ended up having to bow out last minute.
Wow.
But I had ordered kegs, I had ordered equipment, I had started the vetting process, because to get an alcohol license you have to go through a pretty significant background check.
Like Kyle was saying.
Yeah, a lot of post 9/11 stuff has been to ensure that food safety is a priority, that people that are entering into a business that can anything that you're taking into your person, being food, beverage, pharmaceuticals, so they want to make sure that the people involved in that are on the up and up. So when I'd started all that, ordered equipment, sent checks.
Fully committed.
Yeah, and started to scramble and had to find a place that would work. And we wanted something that was a good size, so in the like 2,000 to 3,000 square foot. We're about 3,000 here. We wanted something near a main thoroughfare, which El Camino and Faraday right there, pretty close to Palomar Airport.
Right.
Maybe not as much street visibility as I would have liked, but the zoning worked, the space was available. It was a big concrete box that we could work with. The landlord was super accommodating, letting us bring gas in, upgrade the electrical panel, and do a bunch of other stuff that we needed to make this space workable for a brewery. And looked at a few other spaces that were either far too expensive or in an even more remote spot. And we decided to go with this one.
Wow.
Yeah, and a lot of improvements have come in the last 6.5, 7 years.
It's come a long way.
Yes.
Come a long, long way.
We had our soft opening with 2 beers. The walls weren't even painted then. Some family, cousin, his wife, some other family members, my folks, they came down, helped us get the shelves up on the wall. A regular, he and his wife helped paint this whole place.
Wow.
And that was all, say, month 4, 5, 6. So for the first couple of months, it was not as nice as it is now.
Right.
But we're always adding stuff.
Yeah, for the people listening, like, you guys don't even understand the decor that went into this spot. And then we're not even we're gonna talk about the Mug Club later, but he's got a wall of mugs of just patrons and customers that come in here.
We'll get you in there, Kyle.
Oh, yeah.
It's coming.
Yeah, it is coming.
Right?
I mean, we work about 10 feet away from this place, so.
They don't have a key yet, but
Right. So
soon.
It's funny you mentioned that, Kyle. So, like, when did you start doing this Mug Club thing? Was that something that started off, like, in the beginning stages when you first started? You know, was it something that you knew that you wanted to do, or was it something that just came about?
I really liked the idea of the stoneware, the organic looking mugs and glasses. I guess not glasses, but mugs.
Yeah.
Big sci-fi fantasy fan. If you can't tell when you're in here checking out all the decor and stuff.
Token all day.
Steampunk
Game
style.
of Thrones, steampunk.
We got a nice medley.
Yeah.
And I visited some family in Northern California the year before this became a serious project. And working my way up the coast, I saw 2 or 3 breweries, primarily north of Sacramento, that had mug clubs. A lot of them did glass, and one of them had ceramics, and it just had so much more character to it. And since I was still working the day job at the time, when I got back from that trip, I started focusing on what people used when I was out at bars, when I was out at breweries, what people drank their coffee out of, and I got super lucky. A coworker, her fiance at the time was working at an art studio in San Marcos, and she had this amazing coffee mug, which it turns out he had gotten his coworker, Jesse Martin, our potter, to make for his fiance for a special, I think it was a birthday gift. And I asked her, she told me, she talked to her fiance, he put me in contact with Jesse, I brought some beer over to bribe him and talk shop. I mean, not bribe him, to convince him that we were worth working with.
It's a peace offering, it's a gesture of goodwill.
Thank you, I like that. Yeah, it's an earnest payment, yes.
Earnest payment?
But yeah, he liked the beer, he figured I wasn't super sleazy, so he was happy to at least try it out for the first year. And so we commissioned 100 mugs for the first year. We're now at 160. I'm happy with that. That's a good number. We don't have too long of a waiting list to get in. Everybody gets a little bit different mugs to choose from because Jesse is now on the hook to make 160 every year. He changes the style, so it lets him play around with his technique a little bit. And it's a very organic way to experience craft beverage, drinking from a mug that's been made by hand just down the road, drinking beer that's been made in the place that you're having it, chatting with your buddies that may or may not also have mugs. It just adds a little bit of comfort and depth to the experience that I think.
And it definitely adds like a lot of character for sure. When I first came in here, that was like this mug wall was like the first thing that
it does take up a huge amount of the wall space that I didn't have to decorate also. So that may have also helped.
Yeah, I was like, well, what is this? You know, but you know, there's a lot of interesting mugs up there. And, you know, the way I look at it is you get to see every single day the people, the patrons, the people that are, you know, dedicated towards helping, you know, your business.
It makes it more intimate. And you look up at that wall, and each mug up there is a person that comes in here and supports your business.
Yeah, that loves it enough to be a part of it.
Yes.
Right.
Some mugs almost never have a chance to dry out. Some mugs get a little bit dusty. We got to give them a little bit of grief when they come in, dust it off. But yeah, they all. Absolutely right. It's all people that love and support this craft industry.
Yeah, sure. So tell us about, like, you said that you started off with 2 beers when you guys first started, right? Are those 2 still around? Like, are they still on the...
Not the way they were then. We started with Tiny Tim Cream Ale, which has evolved into the Lomiel Honey Pale Ale. And we started with, oh gosh, I can't even remember the name of the porter. I have to consult my notes. But what is now the Annabelle's Porter was the original porter, and we fine-tuned it and tweaked it a little bit.
Nice.
And yeah, so those 2 beers in slightly different iterations are still on tap
over
now.
The past 7 years, they evolved.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah, we rolled out with those 2, then we rolled out with the Voyager English Ale, and then we rolled out with the Head Basher. And the Voyager and the Head Basher are obviously still on tap, pretty much.
Yeah, the Head Basher is the one that I ordered. I mean, the ones that are doing this right now, you can tell, like, my Head Basher is completely gone.
The Head Basher was hilarious, too, because it was originally hazy, because it had a bunch of flaked oats, it had a bunch of wheat in it, and everybody at the time, this would have been 2012, 2013, it's like, oh, your beer's all cloudy and hazy. And about a year and a half ago, people are in here, why don't you have any cloudy and hazy beers? Because we'd worked so hard to get the haze out with process tweaks, extended protein rests, and so the haze craze has definitely helped streamline the process. And it's this brand new beer.
Does it impact the flavor? Does it impact the flavor to an extent?
It's more the way perception impacts flavor. The nose might be slightly different. The mouthfeel might be slightly different. But it's pretty much all visual.
Okay.
And then at what point did you kind of transition? Because I think every business owner aims to please. We aim to please.
That's true.
Yes.
We do have more IPAs on now than we used to.
Oh, that's good.
As I'm drinking more.
Yeah, but at what point do you put your foot down and say, like, this is our beer, this is our image, and like, I'm not going to conform to what you want all the time. Like, I want to please.
For, like, the consumer?
Yeah, for the consumer. I want to please. I want to make sure that you enjoy my beer, but at the end of the day, I'm not going to just change my business model and what I'm doing to help you.
So we have we were 3.5 barrel. We finally made it up to 7 barrel this year, which is awesome. For those of you who don't know, it's 110 gallons, jump into 220 gallons at a production run.
Oh, wow.
Double.
Wow.
Yeah, I still only have 2 3.5 barrel tanks, a 7 barrel tank, and a 10 barrel tank, but we can brew more at once, which is a huge time saving on brew day, so that I don't have to do 2 entire start to finish batches. But for probably the first 4 years, I was very strict. All right, we're going to have 2, maybe 3 IPAs at a time. Got some saisons, stouts, porters, browns. A lot of very English malt forward, well-rounded, balanced beer. I wasn't going for that palate crushingly dry, bitter IPA side. I wasn't going for the stout is barrel aged and bourbony to the point where you could flare it off. I love those beers. I just didn't want to make too many of them. Maybe like one. There's so much alcohol and booziness to it that it is delicious, but the alcohol heat is almost to where you could flare off an exhalation.
Got it.
It's those whiskeys that burn going.
Got it.
So good.
It's the ones that put the hair on the chest.
Yeah, it's like the Rum Barrel Marley we did last year for the Mug Club party. That was such a good beer. It was up there. It was like 10.5%, 11.5%, but totally worth it.
Speaking of beer, so you collaborated with a few different breweries for this one on the table.
Oh yeah, the one we're all drinking in the pint glasses here.
Cheers.
Cheers,
by the
cheers,
way.
guys.
Plank it, George.
Get in there. Long
there.
range cheers. Oh, we broke him.
You got a leg.
Oh, come on. It's only 6.7. This is a lot drier than the IPAs that I make in-house. And this is the Carlsbad Collective Ipa that we brewed. 7 breweries in Carlsbad. We all got together. It would have been Roller, who actually hosted the brew. Excuse me. Beer. I don't know what to tell you.
This is what happens when you start a podcast at 11 o'clock in the morning at a brewery.
I mean, you got to hydrate.
Right?
Well, we got Roller, who hosted the brew, which was awesome of him. Papa Marces is right next door to Roller. Burgeon, over by the airport. Pizza Sport Bressie, which everybody knows because they're humongous and they make Pizza Sport. Culver Brewing, Carl Strauss Brewing, and us here at Arcana. And we all got together and decided we wanted to do a beer to promote the Carlsbad Brew Fest, which is actually going on September 7th today, and is usually the first weekend of September every year. And so we brewed this one to help promote the event, to help raise more funds for the local Rotary group. And so everybody pitched in with time, with hops, with yeast, with grain. Actually, Proximity Malt, really cool. Who opened down the road, they actually kicked in all the malt to brew this beer, which was awesome. Yeah. And it's super tasty, and we decided since We're in Carlsbad, very West Coast. Can't get much more West Coast than that.
Right.
Unless you want to get in the ocean, for sure.
That's true. That's true. We could have done a Honolulu something in the deep, but yeah, it's 6.7 to go with Carlsbad's 67th anniversary this year, and it's got a lot of Pilsner malt, a little bit of Carapils in there to give it a little bit of sweetness, but it's still super dry. Strata hops, Mosaic hops, Citra hops, and Nelson Sauvin hops. Most of those were contributed by the big boys, Pete Sport and Carl Strauss, because little guys, it's hard to get those hops, but they're so good.
Well, going off of that, Dan, like those are some relatively big names that here, at least here in California, people know Carl Strauss. You got Pete Support, even Stone. To be in line with those guys,
right?
Like how does
to get them to be willing to participate in something that a lot of little shops are in, it was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And that the fact that we hadn't necessarily originally wanted to reach out to them because we didn't want them to feel like we were asking for kickbacks. And we started this project and they heard about it. And they actually hit up the group as the discussion was going on between the five of us and Rotary and Carl Strauss and Pete Support. We're like, hey, we're Carlsbad. We want to participate. What can we do to get in on this?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, well, come to the thing, maybe kick in some hops or yeast or some time or loan us a piece of equipment so that everybody can contribute a little bit to this batch to help promote it. And knock on wood, the lines are already forming at the park today.
Nice.
And we'll generate a lot of money for the Rotary.
Nice. So it seems like to me, like based off of what you're saying, you did a lot of networking in community. In order to make all this stuff possible from the very start, that's what it seems like. You really made sure that when you started this business, you rubbed elbows with the right people, which is very key when it comes to growing business, right, guys?
Oh yeah.
So,
I mean, unless you're rolling in with multiple millions of dollars, investment teams, and a whole suite of people to work, it's
slow growth.
I hate saying it. It's slow growth. It's who you know. It's who you like to work with. It's who likes you to work with. And finding those relationships that fit with your business ethic, your personal ethic, to grow what you want your business to grow into. It would be easy to sell out, but that's not what a lot of small business owners want to do.
Right.
And it's trying to find the people that fit with that you guys can all come up together without giving up your personal ethic.
Exactly. I want to ask the magic question here when it comes to Millennial Motive. You started this, it seems like at an age where you knew right then and there, like, this is what I want to do. What is it what is your motive? So that's something that we ask here on this podcast. Like, what's your motive for, coming in every day, waking up every morning and doing what you do? So what motivated you, per se, to get into this industry and continue to grow?
That's a big question. A little bit of background. My folks, when I was growing up, they had their own business. They have a little wholesale nursery up in Bonsall. And so I grew up where every day you had stuff you had to do. My little sister and I, we had our list of chores if we wanted our allowance. And vacations were hard fought. We had to prep a lot. We had to do a lot of work to take the time off. And so I kind of had an idea for the amount of work. Yes, absolutely, man. If you don't put in the sweat, you don't get the time off.
I like that. You don't put in the sweat, you do not get the time off.
And do damn chores to get your allowance.
Dude,
handouts.
Yeah, I had buddies that would get $20 for allowance when we were 8-10 years old. It's like, $20? That's like 3 hours of work. It's like, what'd you do? So I woke up. Come on.
That's fun.
Yeah, and so the mindset for me coming into this was, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be a lot of work, but it's something that I'm passionate about. It's something that the amount of effort that I put in is going to directly influence what comes out of the project, be it the type of people that are part of it, obviously the revenue that comes in, where the business wants to go. And I started it, like I was saying, there were originally going to be 3 of us involved in the project. And the other 2 folks, personal stuff, financial stuff, didn't end up working out. One of them did get into the beer industry. I think he's somewhere up in the Sacramento, San Francisco area now, Central California, doing something related to beer. He was originally part of the Hillcrest brewing team. The other guy, he didn't end up getting into the industry, but I ended up being the only one who actually
just
got stuck running a brewery. Oh no.
Well, you know, like I said earlier, you made that full-blown commitment. You know, you were saying earlier that you know, you already bought all the kegs, you already brought all the equipment. So like, you know,
I knew this was something I wanted to do. This the energy, the type of people that are into craft beer was something that I wanted to be part of my long-time business and personal livelihood. And growing in this space has been awesome. Long-term, would love to grow to where I could have my own building, be able to trick it out a little bit, have kind of the brew pub thing. Arcana's been rocking and rolling, like I said, for almost 7 years now. But because we don't own the building, we don't own the space, we're fairly limited in what we can do. I can't have a patio. I don't have quite as much flexibility with work inside as I might like. So long term, I would like to grow the business a little bit more to accommodate obviously a patio, a little bit of food to make it more comfortable for people. And get it to where we've got probably 6 or 8 people on the team, to where there's enough people on staff where people can take a couple weeks off for vacation, random days off here and there. I can take a day off someday.
Every entrepreneur wants to work up to that day to where they can literally just say, you know what, let their business.
I get about 2 days a month.
You know,
but 2 weeks a month would be even nicer.
That's dedicated, though, dude. That's dedicated. That's awesome. So would you say your motive every day to come in, wake up, and do what you do is, you know, the fact that you have a mission that you want to accomplish, you know?
Continuous improvement is the name of the game, especially a small business. So this started with the money that I'd saved working the day job. My folks were willing to kick in a little bit. We got a teeny tiny SBA loan, which was like a sixth of the size they said it would be when we applied for it. But we did get some, which was awesome. But I want to grow it to the point where it is fully autonomous, to where if I want to brew 2 or 3 batches, I can walk to the back and brew 2 or 3 batches and not have to think about the front. I can work 2 or 3 weeks in the front while other people do their thing in the back, and everything is smooth and free flowing. We're getting closer, because every year, every day, do a lot of work in the front of house, do a lot of work in the back of the house, but always chipping away at those long-term goals. Always working on streamlining things, improving our process, upgrading our equipment step by step, trying to make everything easier, more straightforward, so that as we bring more people on board, that they can take that ownership and be comfortable with where the company is and where it's going.
And Dan, hearing your story, it makes me respect you even more. I had a lot of respect for you right now, but to jump in and dive into this business, I don't even care that you had those commitments and you made those purchases and you already dug yourself a hole. But
I mean, there's beer in the hole.
Yeah, there's beer in the hole. I'm not trying to make it more negative than it was, but you had 2 other partners that were going to come into this, and they were going to allow you that time that you're searching.
They would have contributed to brewing, bar front,
and to get to that point and them to bow out, and for you to still take the horse by the reins and drive this horse to where you want it to be, although it's going to be
it's taken a little bit longer than we would have liked.
It's going to take a longer grow, but it's going to be more rewarding because you made that leap. And that's extremely respectable, and for you to be brave enough to do that is commendable, man.
It really is, because if you look at it, you know, you wouldn't have this beautiful spot because a lot of people in this world, right, you know, everybody knows everyone gives up on their goals and their what they want to accomplish in life, right?
And it would have been easy to just walk when the other guys walked.
That's what I was going to say. It would have been
resell
really
the
easy.
stuff.
Exactly. It would have been really easy for you to go, you know what, I'm in this on my own now. Let me just bow out, you know, just because your, you know, business partners at the time didn't want to, you know, contribute. But in your mind, you had your mind set on a certain goal, and you said, look, no matter what, I'm going to get there. And so, you know, with the help of a little bit of a beer, and I'm pretty sure
there were some beers involved in the process.
We almost have a gallon on the table.
What?
You were able to.
We got about 1.25 gallons. Speaking of which, you got to work on your flight there.
Right.
I was waiting for the time.
Yeah, you're able.
Speaking of, which one's your favorite right now?
I haven't. I've only tried the Mosaic so far, but let's finish the story and then we'll get back to experimenting.
Real quick, you were able to create this fine establishment for yourself, and I'm pretty sure every single day when you wake up and open up these doors, you know, there's that sense of accomplishment. regardless of you not being where you want to be, but
we're getting closer.
You're getting closer.
That's great.
Every single day that you open this up and, you get to meet new people and, you get to communicate with people like how you were saying and, get to know people's stories on a day-to-day basis, like everybody that's on that mug wall.
And Arcana wouldn't be what it is without friends, family, regulars pitching in.
And that's what I'm hearing.
A lot of the decor was contributed by people. Maybe somebody was in for the first time. They thought of something they had in their garage that would be awesome here. They bring it in. Somebody knows somebody that does a certain kind of work. Like this table was actually made by a couple regulars of ours.
Really?
That they make. They usually make tiki stuff, but he wanted to experiment with kind of a rustic lacquer table. He's like, yeah, I'll make it for you. Just buy the ingredients. That's awesome.
This is where I sit.
This is a solid table.
No, that's amazing. That's amazing to hear, because what that says is, for the ones that are viewing this, everything in here,
everything's got a story.
Has a story and has a meaning.
If you ask me, like that came from that person at that time, or that came from a trip to somewhere else when we were going to a brew fest and we saw this at a little shop and we wanted to support them. What I'm actually pointing at is the little flying pig over there that is freaking adorable, which we found in Borrego
awesome.
Springs. So if anybody sees the blue flying pig, that's one of my favorite. Don't touch it.
Well, it makes it more personal.
It makes it more sentimental when it comes to you coming in every single day.
Yeah, and people who've contributed stuff, they'll come in, maybe solo, maybe with friends, and be like, oh yeah, I'm telling somebody who's asking about it. It's like, oh yeah, where'd you get that weird little elephant guy? I'm like, oh, I brought that in. And nice. People are able to connect with the space that they love, be either with a mug or with knickknacks or just being comfortable in this space.
Right, which makes it a more
and that's
sociable,
been awesome.
Right, which makes it a more sociable place to be in. Isn't that something that every brewery, or I would say like bar per se, would want? To have people that are coming in to socialize with each other. So the fact that everything here, is established on everyone connecting with each other, that's amazing.
Thank you.
It's amazing.
A lot of people think of Arcana as kind of a quiet, mellow brewery, and I'm okay with that. I don't want the PB churn and burn, masses of humanity vibe. I want a place that, albeit sells a lot of beer, which is what we want to do to pay the bills, keep the lights on, but where people also feel comfortable. I don't want people to feel overcrowded. I don't want people to feel uncomfortable based on the clientele they're in here. I want it to be, warm and comfy, fun and funky, kind of a place.
And that's you're definitely the rapport that you
you're definitely accomplishing.
We are funky.
You're definitely accomplishing all of that. So, on a different note, though, let's get to George here. So George has never tried IPAs. He's not much of a beer
except for this
person.
one. This is an IPA, though, right?
That is definitely an IPA.
So I've been loving this one.
That is a dry West Coast IPA.
So why don't you go ahead and tell us about all these flights that you have here for George to try.
Okay. Well, the first beer that he's working on in the pint glass, that's the Carlsbad Collaboration IPA that all of us are working on. And then closest to George on the left is going to be the Mosaic Monster IPA. And that is, let's see, where do we clock it in there? Well, that's a 7% semi-hazy Mosaic IPA. All the dry hops come from Mosaic hops, which are challenging to get and stinking delicious. Floral, juicy, kind of a soft profile. You're not going to get the same level of back-end bite and bitterness that you would get from the first one that you were drinking on.
It's definitely softer than the first one. It's definitely softer than the first one. I want to try them all, and then I'll pick a favorite.
We'll get your the votes of wisdom. All right. Well, we'll follow in from the Mosaic is hazed and confused. And so one of the things we work with really hard.
Is it like 20%?
No, as far as you know. No, that one's only 6.4. And that one's actually going to be even, it is lower alcohol, but it's going to have a little bit more bite than the Mosaic. So that's actually a beer that one of our longtime volunteers on the brew side and recently in the front, Chris Ohm has helped brew.
Yeah.
And that's his personal recipe that we've actually scaled up to brew here on the system. We did a small 3.5 barrel run. This is the second batch of it. and it features Citra and Galaxy hops on the dry hop. So you'd be getting citrusy, grapefruity notes, a little fruity, tropical fruit, almost a little juicy fruit note on there.
Not as much bite as this, but definitely more bite than the Mosaic.
Correct. And we know why that is, and that's part of why Chris is willing to help me out on the daily, is that I am teaching him how to brew on a big production system. And actually his long-term goal is to open a brewery in Oregon or Washington with his wife.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. And so I'm working with him to develop his skills on a bigger brewing system than his 20-gallon homebrew, which is pretty massive for a homebrew system, but also to learn the ins and outs of inventory management, getting ingredients, how you handle keg swaps and inventory turns and all that stuff.
Nice.
And so in exchange for that, he's willing to contribute brew days, recipes, and so hopefully long time from now, when he opens his own place, we can relinquish these recipes to him, and you will have to go to Oregon or Washington to get these beers.
That'd be awesome.
So
I mean, so far it's just that one.
So technically, right now we're getting
Drink it
like
while
an
you can.
exclusive. Yeah, this is
Awesome.
exclusive here.
It's a tease.
Unless you know where he lives, you got to get the beer
Unless you know where
here.
he lives. So this dark one here, this next one. Here.
That's the Marley's Ghost Dark Strong Ale.
So one thing I will say is I do like Guinness. So when I see a dark, that's what I compare it to.
Okay. So
Educate me.
That's
fair. So this is a dark strong ale, which differs from a stout or a porter in that it doesn't have quite the same grain bill. It doesn't have the roasted barley that you would get in a stout that gives it that subtly astringent bitterness. This one will actually have a little more dark fruit, a little more soft baker's chocolate character to it, a little bit more malt sweetness. A porter and a stout will finish more dryly because of those darker malts, the black patent malt, the roasted barley.
I'm definitely getting the chocolate. I love this one. I love this one.
And that's 8.5. You're welcome. That'll warm me up nice if it wasn't already 80 degrees in here today, because summer in Carlsbad is suddenly ridiculously hot.
Driving, so we're
there you go.
Here.
We got some water in the cooler behind you.
Oh, wow, this is fantastic. I really like this one.
And we got the monsters.
I really like this one.
That one's good, isn't it?
It doesn't have too much of a bite, but I definitely taste the chocolatiness. What else did you say was in it? I was too busy enjoying it.
I gotcha.
You got lost.
I got lost.
A lot of people describe it as dark fruit, so as subtle, almost kind of pruny plum undertones, a little bit of stone fruit character, dark caramel. This is one of those where if we had a wine glass, we could swirl it. We could appreciate the legs.
I'm just remembering the flavor. I'm trying to get it in here.
So that one might be your favorite. Huh?
That one might be my favorite.
I love how wine pairs with cheese, grapes, and figs, and beer pairs with chocolate, donuts, beef jerky,
right?
Chips.
And then this one here,
Caesar's pizza.
The Voyager.
And on the end there. I mean, all right, if we got to go Little Caesars, it'll do the job.
As long as you eat it when it's hot and ready.
Yeah, you can't save it for the next day.
No, the trick what you do is you take it, you put it home, you take it home, you put it in the oven for another 15 minutes, and it crispens up a little bit. That's perfect.
See, I've never.
I gotcha.
I'm not,
how to resuscitate Little
that's
Caesars.
Like $6 pizza if I'm paying $6.
This is all satirical. We love you, Little
one,
Caesars.
so this last one here, the Voyager.
The Voyager English Ale. So that is our take on English Special Bitter. That is 6% alcohol. You should be getting a little bit of graininess, a little bit of roasty, toasty character. Some people describe it as a blonde roast coffee, but there's no coffee in it. That's all from the English roasted grain.
Oh, wow.
Which also contributes to that light copper color that it has here. And it's definitely a beer that benefits from being served warmer.
I can taste that.
So when it's too cold, you get the bitterness more. But if you're serving it at traditional British cask temperature, around 50, say 45 to 55 degrees, then the malt character will really open up, and you won't get that snappy bitterness in the back. But it uses sterling hops, a little East Kent Golding, English Special Bitter malt, which is from Gambrinus, I believe, which is phenomenal stuff. Yeah. And there's not a whole lot other than that I'm willing to disclose, lest I give up my...
Yeah, you don't want to give up all your recipes, right?
No. We actually had a guy from Britain in here last night. I didn't figure out whether he was from the London area or somewhere else in the UK, but he was like, yeah, I would consider this a perfectly acceptable beer. It's a little more bitter, but we are in California, so can I have a pint?
Nice.
Cool.
Okay.
So that's always awesome when you have somebody from the UK be like, I dig this. This is great.
Right.
Can I have another one?
Have you experimented
That's
with
awesome.
like warmer beers? Have you experimented with warmer beers getting into that European style? Because I know I went to Germany. I was only there for 2 days trying to go back for Oktoberfest, which is in September.
End of September.
Yeah,
End of
end of
September.
You got
this
time.
month,
Well,
yeah.
you get cured from your hangover by October. That's why.
Have you experimented with that like European style beer where they serve it like lukewarm as far as like room temperature? Or
Only at home. So here at the brewery, we're a little bit limited since we do only have so much space.
Yeah.
Our cold box, which holds our yeast, our hops, all of our kegs, everything we pour here and then we use ingredient-wise other than the grain is maintained at the same temperature. I've got some friends that have a brewery in Temecula that because they actually engineered their whole cold room to accommodate it, they actually have a separate room in their cold room that has a heater to keep British-style pub ales
That's
at
dope.
about 45 to 50 degrees so that they can pour them on a beer engine.
That's really
I aspire
cool.
to that. I also need like another 1,000 square feet to redo the cold room and the whole tap room to accommodate that.
Yeah.
But Arcana 2.0, yeah.
you obviously have those
sneak peek, huh?
goals. Yeah, you have
see.
those goals, and obviously
It's
as
one of those
entrepreneurs,
things. It's a long way out, but it's definitely in there because I love how they laid it out. I love how it turned out because the beers pour fantastic. It's literally a mini room inside your walk-in cooler. So once you package all your beers in the main area, you just roll them into the warm room and hook them up to your beer engines, and you're good to go.
Nice.
In the mad rush to get Arcana open in time to actually
That's
pay
something that
bills
you
on
did?
time, that was something that I didn't necessarily put as much research into as I could have. But seeing how they did it, that is definitely something that I want to incorporate.
Nice.
I think craft beer is one driven by innovation and consumer taste, but it's also highly driven by the co-opetition idea that we all love what we all do in this industry, and we all want to assimilate as many best practices as we can to try and improve our craft, to improve our product line, to try and grow in a way that is beneficial to everybody.
Yeah.
It makes our life easier, it makes the beer better and more interesting for consumers.
So for you, like when it comes to being an entrepreneur in this industry, it seems as if it's something that improvement is something that you always focus on, right? So what would you say to somebody that either wants to improve the beer culture as far as what they as far as their business is concerned and all that, or what would you say to somebody coming into this industry? Based off of the 7 years, I'm just gonna try to say you've been
a long
in
time.
7 years, man.
I've seen a lot of breweries come. We've seen a lot of breweries go.
Yeah.
A lot of people ask us why we keep plugging away. It's because we love what we do.
Right. So in 7
Me, the other
years,
people
you have
who are involved here. we're all
in 7
passionate
years,
about
you
it.
have a lot of experience with trial and error. So what would you say to somebody that
that
is
little
viewing
child
or
in
viewing or
UCR, in his
viewing or
apartment.
listening to this? And,
What would
and
you
is
say to the
wanting
hypothetical UCR child that is sitting in front of you that
Your
is like
younger
half
self.
drunk on like 5
Your younger
beers
self?
right now?
Yeah, what
Training.
Would you say, what would you,
Training.
Yeah, what would you
watch
say to
Beer
somebody
Fest.
that's-
Don't
that's
drink that
coming
much
into
beer.
Oh no, like I don't know how you guys are like downing those. I'm already starting to feel like a little like we're on a boat right now.
Oh yeah.
I'm a lightweight.
You'll get there. You got to teach your liver his boss.
My sister can tell you I'm a lightweight. I love you, Mel.
Yeah. So back to my question, like, what would you say to somebody, the younger self of you? What would you say to somebody that's listening to this podcast or viewing this podcast on our YouTube channel that is really, really, interested in getting involved in this industry or curious about what it takes? What advice would you give that young man or that young woman?
So, like any industry, the craft brew industry, it continues to change. The marketplace is so different now in 2019 than it was in 2011 when I started paperwork and 2012 when we actually opened. A little background. When we filed paperwork there were fewer than 25 open breweries in the entire county of San Diego.
Wow.
Really?
By the time we got our paperwork approved, this was actually the 73rd brewery to be approved and open at the time.
Ooh,
so a lot of competition.
It's absurd. Between then and now, I think right now we have contiguously,
consistently.
Whatever the word is.
Verbiage, whatever.
We've got about 140 unique brewing operations open within the county of San Diego. That's not counting satellite tap rooms, restaurant extensions, anything like that. That's just brewing operations, LLC, filed with the alcohol board. And between 2011, 2012, and now, we've probably had 35 to 50 open and close. And so the marketplace is totally different than it was at the time when I opened this place. So for someone considering the craft beer business, I would look at yourself and decide whether you want to have a long-running, internally supported organic company, or you want to create something that you grow and hand off as quick as possible, or if you want to grow something humongous that gets acquired by a bigger entity.
Like a Cooler Light.
I'm not naming names. But there has been a lot of liquidation, there's been a lot of condensing, there's been a lot of acquisition nationwide as far as the craft industry is concerned.
So what you're saying is basically someone that wants to get into this industry, you either need to build a tight-knit group of people that are going to support you.
Do you want to run a shop where you guys are the brewery? I say guys, but you guys, you gals are the brewery. It's weird, because I put way too many hours in here. I will walk up to other brewery bars and like, oh hey, you're Dan from Arcana. It's like, well, other people work there. And I wanted to get to the point where it's like, oh hey, you're one of the people from Arcana. That's what I want. But at the same time, if you're coming into the industry, you need to think about, do you want to have that experience where you are part and parcel to your business, or do you want to have a business to where you've got 12, 20 people working there, shipping beer all over the county, or do you want to have 60 to 100 people working where you're sending beer all over the country? And so your goal long term is going to drive how you approach this business. For Arcana, I love where we're at. I'd love to get to the point where we have, say, 12 to 20 people working in here, and to where we have enough flexibility to all be in-house on a big day, or just a skeleton crew running it because we've got it lean and mean. Right.
You got everything. You got all the systems in place and everything down pat.
Yes.
So you would say, to the person that's really thinking hard about getting into this,
think about your exit plan.
Think about your exit plan. But know what I got from what you were saying is know exactly what you want as far as your brand image and
we've had people walk in, say, hey, we love what you're doing here. We're looking to invest in places. What would you think about? And we've had people float us, oh yeah, we'll kick in 150 grand. We just need 52%. And for me, that is going to work because that's the company. If I sell more than 49%, we're in a tie, and if I sell 52%, that's the same as letting it go. And for me, that's not my long-term goal. I want something that will continue to grow organically to the point where maybe 3 to 5 people are involved on the ownership side, and we have a good, close-knit group of people working with us to keep the operations going, to grow our product line, to do seasonal stuff, to be a presence in the community. But I also don't want to give up that connection with the locality.
How you built this place up for the
I want to work with Jesse the Potter as long as he is throwing pots in San Marcos. I want to work with Carlsbad Rotary as long as they're doing their beer festival and things like that kick back to our local area. I want to work with local homebrewers like Chris, who brought in this recipe, as long long as I can to continue rolling that out. And if you get too big to where you're doing 1,000 gallons of beer at a time, you can't necessarily do a 100-gallon spin-off batch, which you know will be good, but you don't necessarily know you can sell a couple cases of cans to every Costco in the county.
Yeah. Well, it's no longer about the people that you're serving; it's about the profit that you're making out of it.
Yeah, and you absolutely do. You got to pay the bills.
Oh,
that's why we have more IPAs than we used to, because IPAs pay the bills in San Diego.
Right. What I'm hearing too is not only do you want to know your game plan going in, but you really want to, continue to keep those, heartfelt relationships that you've had with, the people that has helped you growing it from the very beginning.
As big as it is, it's still a small industry in the county, and so if you want to be a positive member in that community, you have to be conscientious of what you do. If you, on a corporate level, sell out and burn your employees, while you won't be blackballed at every bar, you might not necessarily get as good a drink as you might otherwise.
Right. Yeah. And Dan, you said that you have, obviously you said it might be a long-term out, but do you have a timeline on how you want to expand? How you want to expand in-house and then maybe a second location? Like what do you think is the time frame where you're going to get that second location, or you're going to expand to get more employees?
Always looking to it every day.
Okay.
If somebody were to come at me with the perfect satellite location, I would take that paperwork to the bank. I would call Chris or Trey or Shannon or Kaylee, somebody to come in here and jump in on the bar so I could run over the bank and be like, hey, we make money, we make good beer, we pay our bills on time. We really, 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 really need to do this to grow. What's it going to take?
So you're just waiting for the opportunity. You're just waiting for the...
Well, not just waiting. We are looking.
Okay.
By year 10, because we're hitting year 7 here, by year 10, we need to be in our own space to be where I want to be.
So we're looking like 2022,
years.
2023?
Yeah, correct. You're 7 years in, so about in 3 more years, you're looking to really...
By that point, if we are in our own spot, growing into maybe like a deli setup like Culver does, or our own little mini brew pub, we'll find somebody who has a taco business that we could incorporate in there somehow, because...
And I did want to mention that as well. This man supports small businesses.
Yeah,
Every Friday he has a food truck right outside of his brewery. We got Bao Buns. I wanted to plug them because they'll
be here next Saturday.
Love them. Oh yeah, I'm gonna be here.
On the 14th.
Just a Filipino taco. They got the steamed buns.
It's so good. Yeah, it's so good.
It's great, and he has other. What is the bratwurst? What is the name?
Geysermeister.
Geysermeister, awesome. Cameron, the owner of that, he's awesome guy. They make some great food. They go to the local
Cameron and
breweries.
Laura, good stuff.
Cameron and Laura, they do good work. And how you set up your business model of supporting other small businesses and growing with them is what you need to do, and to have that intimate circle and to grow with the community is
the better relationship you have with the people you work with. If something happens, somebody else can come and help fill in. If somebody else is tied up, you can reach out to other people and be like, hey, this thing happened, and people have your back. And when they're out and about chatting with their friends at another venue, they'll mention you like, hey, we love working with this other business. Next time you guys are in the area, we're going to be there. Check us out, check them out.
Word of mouth.
It's really about paying it forward as much as we can.
It's one of the old school marketing ways, but it never dies. And it's funny you say what you guys are saying as far as continuously to have those relationships within your community. When we were on the previous podcast with Celine, one of her main points was when she gets to the top, she doesn't want to be there alone. She wants others to be there with her. So it goes to show that as an entrepreneur in any field that you're in, you want to have that established group surrounding you, helping you to grow because you're helping them to grow as well. That's amazing. So,
and that's why you're here, Dan, and I appreciate you being on, man. I love coming in here every week. This is, like I said in my Instagram story.
You can't see it. His name's on one of these bar stools.
Yeah, it's somewhere. I forget which one it is. But on my Instagram story, this guy got me into IPAs. Like, I come in here, I support the business.
He got me into IPAs too.
Yeah, it's good.
On a side note, wait. Back to that. Sorry to cut you off, Kyle, but based off of what you tried today, George, what would you say is your favorite out of the ones that you've tried?
Man,
this is something that Kyle did with me when I first was getting into IPAs. When I first entered into this fine establishment, that was something that you've done for me. Was to try each and every one and find out.
I will totally force beer on people. So try this splash, try a splash that. You don't like that? All right, we're gonna find one that works for you.
Right.
Yeah, and then they wake up in the middle of nowhere with like their pants on their head.
That's not me.
Yeah, that's your own self.
That's after you leave. That's on you.
So
take an Uber.
So right, exactly. So which one of these would you say is your favorite?
I almost want to say the Marleys just because I love dark, but like it would have to be like if I were to rank them, and they're all it's like 1 A B C D. There's no 1 2 3 4. You know what I mean? It would have to go Harley's, Mosaic, Hazed. I don't know the name of this one.
Carlsbad Collective Ipa.
Carlsbad Collective Ipa, and then the Voyager. All one, but it'd be like 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D.
Nice.
Just to clarify, we got 3 of Arcana's beers before the full collective. I'm a competitive person. That's
fair.
a win for you, my man.
There you go.
I will take that.
There you go.
This did dethrone the Guinness for me.
The Marleys?
This did dethrone the Guinness.
And it's like twice the alcohol.
And like, I don't know if you can see it on my face.
Guinness
I'm like
too,
sweating and I'm red and I'm everything. But hang on.
He's adorable.
As
long as he's having a good time.
Dethroning Guinness. That's a big.
This is dethroning Guinness for me. I actually really like this. Mom, if you're watching the podcast, hi Mom. No, but this is probably going to. This is going to be your favorite beer when you try it, Mom. I love you.
But you can tell, he really loves it because
I really do like
all
it.
the other ones is like the one that's almost gone. So.
He's trying to be so conscientious to manage his consumption.
Yeah,
whereas Orlando and Kyle and I, we're basically done. And these guys like, come on.
I'm trying because I'm such a lightweight.
We had beer before this.
Yeah, I know. I've had beer before. This too.
Like today.
But, no, but like me, I'm trying because I'm like I have to record some more stuff later today. I don't want to be sitting there like okay, sorry for the audio listeners. I don't want to be sitting there like messing with the audio and going in and out.
No, that's great. So hey, we were able to find George's favorite IPA. Attaboy. So hey, that's the thing. That's what
this isn't an IPA. No,
No.
Marley's is a dark strong.
Oh, Mosaic. Okay, yeah. So this would be the favorite.
Marley's
dark ale.
This is next.
Mosaic Monster. Hazed and Confused.
I really like it.
Carlsbad
Collective, and then the Voyager. I really do like it in like this order.
Yeah,
so that's
I saw your face. I was like, okay, the Voyager's unfortunately not going to be up at the top. But hey.
No, but it's still really good.
It's a
still
tasty
really
beer,
good.
but it's different.
Very good.
You'll have to come back and do another flight and try the other beers.
There you go.
I think
3 more
it's going to be a
flights.
crash landing at that point because
There are a lot of beers.
I'm already in with 5 beers and I'm just 5.
Orlando's driving. It'll be great.
I'm driving. You'll be all right.
So Dan, I want you to go ahead and take the floor. Any kind of plug that you want to do. I know, obviously, plug this place. But any event that you're going to be at,
That's
any
true.
event, any personal account that you want people to follow,
Online.
this is a chance to do so. So please take the floor, my man.
Cool, absolutely. For us, as a small local brewery, we don't distribute very far. So absolutely, come check us out. We're off of El Camino Real and Faraday. We're on the north side of the intersection at the Carlsbad Gateway Center. We've got a little map on our website, arcanabrewing.com. The best way to keep up to date with us is going to be via our social media channels, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. All 3 are going to be at Arcana Brewing. And upcoming events, we've got some reps today on the 7th of September at the Carlsbad Brewfest, carlsbadbrewfest.org. We're going to be at the Vista Viking Festival this September 21st and 22nd.
Nice.
I believe that is Vista Viking Fest or VistaVikingFestival.com.
We'll tag it in the description.
Yep, look it up. You'll find it there.
Yep, right
we'll be
here.
Yep. Yeah. We'll be at the Northern Territory Beer Garden. They also have a main bar, live music, all that good stuff coming up. And then for events, October, November, December, check us out online. We'll be doing one of our twice annual Mug Club parties on the first weekend of November. So anybody who's in the Mug Club listening to this, stay tuned to your email. We'll be letting you know when to sign up. We're going to have some special beers on just for the club.
Nice.
Other than that, you should come check us out. We've got food most Fridays. Again, our website has a current list of beer and upcoming food and events and various shenanigans that are going on. We also do a small batch Sunday, which is actually coming up this Sunday the 8th, and it'll be the second Sunday of every month where we brew a 10 to 15 gallon batch of beer. So anyone who wants to learn about brewing, wants to check out the space a little bit more in depth, because we clear out the back half of the production brewery for people to check. We'll also tap the small batch beer from the month before for people to test drink and give us some feedback on. So that's actually coming up this Sunday.
So for all of you guys that are listening right now and viewing this podcast that are thinking about getting into the brewing industry, you definitely want to be here that day, because you'll be able to talk with him and really know and articulate what it means, and what
we'll talk shop, we'll taste ingredients, you can see the recipes that we're brewing on the small scale, see the equipment that we use for the big stuff versus our little erector set pilot brew system. It's a fun day.
Nice.
Yeah, and check out his awesome fish tank. I'm a big fan of fish.
Yeah, we do a fish tank.
Yeah, definitely. You guys definitely have to, the ones that are viewing this and the ones that are listening to this, you definitely have to check out this spot for sure. And we'll leave the address in the video description and things of that nature for you as well. But that being said, you want to go ahead and take it away, Kyle?
Dan went ahead and checked every box that we have, making our job easier. So please follow us at Mill Motive Live on Instagram, Millennial Motive on YouTube. We're going to be on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud. I think Dan's going to be the first episode up on those streaming platforms.
Yeah, once I sober up, I'll be able to get the audio and everything.
Monday, Tuesday.
Yeah, George definitely had a great time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm like sweating and I'm red and I'm just sitting here. I'm like, I don't know if you can see it, but
Still
I'm like,
gorgeous, man. You're
just sitting here like
he's a little
It's
plump.
just the glow.
It's the
He's a
glow.
little
yeah, oh yeah, I'm
You're glowing,
glowing.
bro.
I'm sure I look like a train wreck from the outside.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
No, you're absolutely fine, brother. Well, we had a great time. Dan, thank you for being on.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, no worries. Go ahead and check him out. Again, we're tagging him. And thank you for tuning in. Next time.
Until next time, this is Millennium Motive, guys.